What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe.
All right, Ross, so let's talk some New Orleans Saints because, we're in it now. We have the Hall of Fame game last night. By the way, let's get a little vibe check because we've gone across the room and seen some different answers. How much of the Hall of Fame game did you watch last night?
I barely made it through DeMarcus Ware singing that national anthem, but it's gonna be a no for me, dog. But I know I got through. I got the DTR's touchdown drive.
Yeah,
great. That kind of 93-yard touchdown drive, and I got through probably a little bit beyond that. I think I kind of tuned out after the delay. I was like,
yes.
All right, this is a preseason game. I'm not sitting through a delay like I would with the Super Bowl. Thank you. And everything. I'm not worried about all that.
Yeah, we've been through a Super Bowl where the lights went out. Yeah, I was at that one as well. You're right. Yeah, I am not waiting through that. Okay, so Taylor's the crazy one because he watched all 4 quarters. I thought that already, but now it is confirmed. All right, Ross, let's talk actual Saints. Now that we're in the nitty-gritty of camp, now that we kind of know a couple of different things, you're starting to see maybe how the positions are taking shape. What has been maybe a surprise to you? Do you have a surprise of a position where you thought one guy for sure had it locked up and now he's competing? Where does your mind go when I ask you about maybe a surprise coming into camp?
Yeah, I think the first place that my mind kind of goes is the defensive end position, particularly the guys that are behind Cameron Jordan. Payton Turner is a name or a number that I feel like I write down or type every single day. Looking at guys like Carl Granderson and Tana Passanio who continue to make plays, everything in the pass rush. And I don't want to leave Isaiah Foskey out. He hasn't been as impactful in the pass rush, mostly because he's learning a new position. They've got him learning that 4-eye technique, which is a little bit more of the inside shoulder of the offensive tackle run stopping. So he's kind of learning a whole new technique. It's kind of like an outside corner moving into the slot for the first time, kind of learning curve. And so I don't want to leave him out of that, but really that edge rusher position or edge defender position, probably more accurately here in New Orleans, has been something that has been a little bit more, a little bit deeper than I expected, and a lot of that has been kind of spearheaded by Payton Turner for sure, in the way that he's kind of turned the corner here early on in camp.
Foskey's somebody that we talked about yesterday. Have you seen him flash? And I agree with you. His role is going to be different than Granderson and Cam Jordan. He doesn't have that body type. He is going to have a specific role within the defense. But have you seen a flash enough to say that he can help the Saints week 1, week 2, early in the season? We don't have to maybe wait to see him kind of flash.
Yeah, no, I've seen a couple of moments from him for sure. It's where, it's been, the kind of things that you see and you go, okay, there's the young rookie kind of doing his thing in the pass rush. And we've also seen him make some plays in the run game as well. And with all that, I think that those flashes are there. You just want to start to see it become more consistent. But it's tough. It's tough at a moment like this. Maybe once they kind of see what they want to see from him when it comes to the run game. When it comes to the run game and everything, then maybe he'll get more opportunities as a pass rusher at that point.
Where are you at with this draft class? Because we always joke when we have you on, Brian Brazee is somebody that was selected with your first-round pick. He was the guy that a lot of mock drafts had going to the Saints, and it's almost like we knew it was coming. We hoped that it was coming, and then it happened. They're like, okay, he'll be fine. And we don't really talk about Brian Brazee and maybe how he's doing in training camp. So we'll start with him and maybe some other guys in this draft class.
Yeah, I think Brazee's been somebody that I've really enjoyed watching so far. He's just super athletic, especially for his size, which we knew coming into the NFL. We knew that was going to be the case for him. But the other piece of it, and I asked Eric McCoy, kind of what's impressed you the most going up against the rookie. And the thing that he actually highlighted was not only his ability to move at his size, but his move set. So the sort of variety of pass rushing moves that he has. And I asked a little bit further, how has he been in terms of stringing those moves together so that you kind of have this punch counter punch as a pass rusher? Sometimes your first move doesn't work. So do you have a second, third move if you've got the motor that a guy like Brazee has, you keep going to try to fight through? And he mentioned that that's probably the other thing that he's been most impressed with. So those are all good nods. And I think we saw a good example of that on Wednesday. He had a pressure, Brazee did, right up the middle, right in the face of Derek Carr. It forced kind of an errant throw, maybe one that Derek Carr wouldn't make outside of the training camp environment. But he tried to push it over to the left sideline, and It came up short, and Pete Werner was able to take a diving leap and an interception. He wasn't able to reel it in because when I say it was a diving leap, I mean it was a diving leap. But he still got his hands on it, knocked it away. And that's kind of the 1-2-3 that you want to see over on the defensive side, is getting pressure right up the middle, forcing those errant throws, and being able to capitalize on that in coverage.
A couple of other rookies. Now, Kendre Miller is somebody that I've loved since he was at TCU and watched him not only last year when they were making the run, but his entire career at TCU. And I've seen a couple of clips where he certainly has flashed. And he's a guy that obviously is behind two really good veteran running backs. And so maybe we don't see as much from him, but we will see him. But a guy that we don't plan on seeing, it's probably best if you don't see him, is Jake Haener from Fresno State. But look, the clips are clips, and I've been a part of training camp. I know how that goes, but he's got the clips out there, Ross.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, it's more than just the clips too. He's doing everything in between those clips, which I think is really, something important to highlight, is that it's not just kind of highlight this, highlight that. It's a consistent thing. He's got this really tight throwing motion. He's, really decisive when he, he kind of, I think he kind of sees the play that he wants to make and immediately takes it with the quickness that you want to see from like a linebacker who's clicking and closing. You know what I mean? To where you can see the play develop in front of you, and the only thing that you should do is trust your instinct and go for it. That's kind of what Jake Haener has done. And, he puts a really good location on the ball. He throws guys open. He throws spots as opposed to receivers throwing where guys are going as opposed to where they are. He's doing a lot of the really, really good things. And you're right. Ideally, you never see that out on the field, because that means injuries have happened ahead or something else has happened ahead. But I'll tell you what, I mean, it's got major implications for some of the, practice squad guys and some of the second string guys, some of the third string guys all throughout the season who get to work with a quarterback that's doing that's able to throw and make NFL throws, as opposed to, being with a quarterback that's not able to make those, and then you're not ready for your game day situation. And especially a guy like Jake Haener, who, especially a guy like Jake Haener, who has modeled his game after Drew Brees, and of course has worked very closely with Derek Carr for so long. Him and Derek Carr are going to talk about the offense, see the field the same way. I think that benefits the guys around them as well.
Yeah, it's a great point. I mean, he's going to be that guy that runs the other team's offense, because a lot of times, even if you have like a veteran backup like Jameis, he's not going to do that. He would be getting maybe 2 reps with the ones at the end of their reps, and Jake Haener certainly will be getting his team ready to go. Great point there by Ross. Catching up with Ross Jackson, talking New Orleans Saints here on OTB. All right, what about a position that maybe you felt good about going into camp and maybe you still have question marks now after a couple of days? Do you have a position like that?
Yeah, I think linebacker is still that spot for me. I thought for sure that they were going to come in and bring in some veteran guys. I mean, this is the team that brought in, Nigel Bradham when he was 70 and James Laurinaitis when he was 106 during training camps and things like that.
Hey, I'm the same age as James Laurinaitis. Hold up.
No, you're not 106. Stop.
105.
So I think – but, when it comes down to that, I thought that, you sort of seen this team track record with bringing in veteran running backs, veteran linebackers during training camp. And, they haven't done that. And that was a little bit of a surprise to me. And then now you have the injury to Andrew Dowell, which, is unfortunately a season-ending injury. He had it to injured reserve, reported with an ACL by Nick Underhill over at New Orleans Football. And so, I think that that's another spot where you kind of go, okay, well, now that you have the injury, you're kind of forced to respond and potentially add to the position where you might have already been weak and needed that extra veteran presence. But it's not that DeMarco Jackson and Zach Bond and Nephi Sewell and these other guys are underperforming. I just think that it's one of those spots where, there's competition there, so bring in some competition.
Ross, if you had to say this is going to be the player to try to replicate what Caden Ellis did last year, who would that player be?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think DeMarco Jackson is probably in that lane, or get split between DeMarco Jackson and Zach Bond. I don't think there's a wrong answer between the two of those guys, but it could be interesting that maybe they take some of the pass rushing things that they had Caden Ellis do and have Zach Bond do that, who was a career pass rusher with Wisconsin, and then you give some of those off-ball things to DeMarco Jackson, even though DeMarco Jackson himself was a little bit more of an on-ball guy during his time at App State and all that. And so, I think that I would probably give it a mix between those two guys, but I do think that DeMarco has the on-ball experience and maybe is a little bit better in off-ball situations right now than Zach Bond has been. And so because of that, I would give him kind of a nod in terms of being the blend of that style of guy that Caden Ellis was.
Ross, want to ask you about some injuries before we let you out of here today. Andrews Pete's somebody like, not trying to be funny, not trying to pop jokes off here, but we've kind of been used to him having nicks and knocks and bruises and kind of being out. So, like, what's the latest with Andrews Pete and also Delonte Taylor?
Yeah, so what we've been told about both is that neither injury is expected to be serious, and that these guys would be back sooner rather than later. But Andrews Pete's already missed 2 practices, so it'll be interesting to see if he's back out there today with that quad strain. The hamstring tightness for Delonte Taylor, if it was just tightness, you don't have to be too concerned about that at all. You just didn't want it to get any worse, and I think that was a good decision by the Saints to say, oh, you're experiencing this, great, we'll go and sit down. Don't make it any worse. We don't want to lose you for, an extended amount of time or anything like that. So I do think that those are wise choices by New Orleans, but I think the one that you're really waiting to learn more about is Andrews Pete and how quickly he makes it back out to the field.
How much does that affect Delonte Taylor in this battle to be a starting corner, or do you think the plan was probably to kick him inside the entire time?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, kicking him inside, I think it probably, if he misses an extensive amount of time or if he misses a few practices, I think it really impacts his ability to learn the slot position, which is brand new to him. He didn't play it at all, but I think like 44 snaps or something like that in college. Played it a couple times last year, but never starting there. It was kind of what you guys were referencing earlier. It's where you motion your number 1 receiver into the slot to try to get the good matchups and stuff like that. And so, when a guy like Delonte Taylor hasn't played much in the slot, if he's lined up over your number 1 and you can motion that and he's going to follow in man coverage into the slot, into that tight space where he doesn't have a lot of experience playing, then you're going to do that. You're going to take that matchup. And so I think that, right now, I think the biggest thing is the less time that he spends out on the field, the less opportunity he gets to learn that position. And I think that Paulson Adebo has been pretty well ahead so far when it comes to the outside cornerback spot. So I don't know that missing time impacts him there where he was kind of already behind. But if the idea was to get him to learn a new position, then the more snaps, the better, the reps, the repetition, all that stuff is the stuff that he needs.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.